A very good afternoon to all the viewers. Welcome back to another episode of BW People HR Voices. Today we're joined by Mr. Tarun Katyal, Chief Human Resources Officer, Niva Bupa, formerly as Max Bupa. He's a veteran in the HR space with almost over 25 years of industry experience. He has led Niva Bupa to becoming a great place to work for 3 years in a row. Prior to this, he served as the CHRO for Systema Shyam Teleservices and for several corporates like Aditya Birla Retail, Hindustan Coca-Cola, Bharti Airtel, and Vardhaman Group. Welcome, Mr. Tarun. Thank you for being here with us and joining us today.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So, today's topic for discussion is we're seeing a rapid technological advancements happening every day. So, upskilling the talent within the existing workforce is very important and very necessary today. So, let's start with understanding that how can HR professionals identify the skill gaps and areas for improvement within the existing workforce? And also, Mr. Tarun, what are some of the methodologies or let's say tools that can be used for this purpose?
Sure. Thank you for the question, and it's very relevant in today's context. So, before getting into any tools and methods to do it, so let me state the context here. The context is that today things are changing very fast. So, with all these changes happening all around us, especially after COVID, there is a huge amount of transformational change all around, whether it is external business environment, internal, etc., etc. So what necessitates, now more than anything else, I think it has become necessity for any organization to always look at internal talent pool first before looking outside. Yeah. So which means you have to keep your talent ready for internal growth opportunities uh, in a well planned manner rather than in a knee jerk reaction, which usually used to happen in many companies earlier. Meaning that as and when you have future requirements, as and when you have vacancies arising out of either organic exits or new positions getting created because of business opportunities, etc. So you should have X percentage of talent ready with you from
Right.
internal source, internal pool itself, rather than always having to look outside. So that's the background. Second, in our context, we have grown so we have grown from almost, 3.5 times, if I have to, put a number across, both on top line as well as in terms of headcount. We have grown more than 3 times in last 3 years' time, and we continue to grow at rapid pace in for next 3 to 5 years. And same is the case with industry which we operate in, which means we will continue to have more such positions to be fulfilled, whether they are now any as any organization progresses, you have to segregate those future requirements in two parts. One is that organically we will get some roles which are easy to build internally, meaning that for example, I have X number of frontline managers roles today. So if this X number is going to be X plus Y in future, and I'm able to plan and move ahead in that direction, how do I build internally? What kind of assessment centers? What kind of development programs I run, and keep internal talent pool ready for at least 40 to 50% of those requirements. Now, next set of roles are more niche, and they are like something new which has come up or which might come up over a period of time. Once you identify those opportunities, once you identify those gaps, which normally you do as part of your business planning, as part of your annual strategy, or as part of your 3 to 5 years business plan, which you try and visualize for your organization, that okay, in future, what different I will need in terms of my capabilities to fulfill what I'm trying to do as part of my business. So now those roles are difficult to fulfill, sometimes even externally. So how do you prepare your people to at least gear up to take up those responsibilities, if not for entire new set of capabilities, but at least for some of them, you have those backups created. So how now after this context, now how it should be done? So various methodologies. So one is, of course, throughout the year you keep on refreshing your talent pool, quarter on quarter, or at least once in 6 months,
Mm.
where you earmark and identify your internal talent pipeline at
Right.
various levels, basis your requirements. And then once you have identified those employees as part of pipeline, then you decide as an organization how and what you want to build them on for future. So those capabilities are derived in two parts. One is your functional capabilities, and second is your competence or leadership to handle higher roles. So once you identify those people, then you build a plan. Now those plans can be in form of individual development plans, or those plans can be as part of on the job responsibilities projects, or new especially your enterprise level projects, where you give them exposure either on cross functional level or on new areas of expertise, etc., etc., where they learn and prepare for higher responsibilities. And as and when you have such roles available, you know that there is a pool sitting internally which you can bank on as and when you get to those roles and responsibilities available to you. Now, second, various other ways, like doing 360-degree feedback, which we carry out for select set of people, over a period of time, to find out if there are any improvement areas to be built up. Now those 360-degree feedback surveys, interesting point is that how do you customize those surveys to cater to the kind of development needs which you are trying to build over a period of time. So those could be your set of competencies, those could be your set of leadership behaviors which you want to develop your people on, etc., etc. So once you gather those feedbacks from all the respective stakeholders, then you build a plan how to develop these people. Then of course you have employee surveys, you also have performance appraisals, you have ongoing enterprise level projects
Right.
where you involve and build this talent on. So you also have ongoing running programs, like we have one such program which we call as Club Ignite, which helps people at certain level to uh, participate in ongoing mentorship program. Now that program allows you to participate cross-functionally. So it is not with your own functional head. It is like with an opportunity to interact with at least 3 to 4 different functions over a period of 1 year, expertise from those particular functions, which will be eventually helpful to you to develop yourself into new roles involving more complexity or involving more different roles. So these are some techniques which eventually help organizations to build pool internally. Now another interesting aspect here is that there is a set of talent pool which constantly requires upgradation, because again, other than organic or even niche capabilities, there is another part which is which is changing very very fast, which is like your technical skills, right? People working on the technical jobs, irrespective of whatever level bands they are working in, you
Mm.
require a different approach for them to upskill themselves on a regular basis. And those kind of programs normally are not uh, you know they are they are normally more effective if you have flexibility in terms of people able to choose those programs and go through those development programs at their own ease, which means there is flexibility to opt for those programs individually and then complete it over a period of time with flexibility, rather than going and doing it in groups or sessions, etc. So we have a similar set which we call as learning gym. So where people can opt for such upgradations from time to time as per their flexibility, availability, etc., etc. And then those upgradations keep on happening in their functional areas, which is mutually beneficial both for the talent as well as for the organization.
Right. So you mentioned
So I'll
rightly that
stop here and
Yeah. So you mentioned rightly that today new jobs are being created with new technologies coming in, especially when Meta and generative AI are on the rise. But you mentioned the technical skills. What are some of the technical skills or just the skill requirement that has changed over time that you're looking at from the perspective of a CHRO from the candidates that are trying to join in?
so okay, so one is for any role today in any organization, so to say, especially with a company like us, which is directly serving customers. So we are largely a retail focused organization which connects with customer directly. So two aspects are very key here. One is a sense of customer obsession. So how
Hmm.
do you build that? And second is that, irrespective of whatever function you are joining in, so do you have a mindset that you need to be digitally savvy? So which means a digital mindset. And
Right.
normally, so, there is a feeling which used to be there earlier, that okay, if it is digital, it is something to do with IT, or if
Hmm.
it is digital, it is something to do with engineering people. But now, everyone in the company has to have that ability to think and apply digital, and at least use digital applications which are there in today's this thing. And another important aspect, which is at least very very critical for an industry like us, is a data based mindset. So whatever decisions I am taking, so how much data I am using to arrive at those decisions, so which is nothing but simply it is called data based decision making. So how do we inculcate these two mindsets in anybody who is coming on board? Because eventually it's all about serving customer, and if we are asking customer to get all the services which are which are on app, or which do not require any human intervention, then same approach has to be adopted by all employees in the company as well. So these are the two overriding skills. And third, which we inculcate after the person comes on board, is we index heavily on a skill on execution, because as we grow fast, obviously we require our people to be very very adept on execution skills, and that is required again at all levels, at all bands, etc., etc. So these are three skills which we heavily rely upon. And then of course there are skills within these skills. So if you are specialized in technology, there are various other upgradations available, whether it is to do with coding or it is to do with any other uh, digital aspects, languages, etc. So those are skills which are earmarked and put in place as part of our, we call it as online learning briefcase.
Hmm.
So that briefcase will have all these skills available to you at any point of time in our LMS, where people can go and upgrade themselves. Yeah.
Coming back to change the upskilling programs, we often see that at organizations, employees who have been comfortable in this space and comfortable with the traditional practices that they've been following for years, they are a little resistant to change when we talk about upskilling, right? They're very comfortable with the existing skill set that they have. So, how can leaders address this challenge and motivate employees to embrace the new opportunities that are coming up?
Yes. So there are two parts to it. One, as an organization, how your as an organization, your culture and ecosystem, how does it show, a part? So for example, if somebody asks me that you upskill yourself, so then the normal question as an employee, I think that if I upskill myself, then what will happen, right? So those answers have to be clarified in everybody's mind, number one. So for example, in our case, we say that okay, anybody who has worked for a particular period of time doing the same role will have an opportunity to get into a new role.
Okay.
Now once you define these processes as part of your culture, then everybody looks forward to that. Okay, if I am doing same role, Is it adding to my experience beyond 3 years, 4 years, 5 years? And how do I get, if I have to get into a new role, then obviously I have to upskill myself, right? So one, structurally, as I said, structurally you have to solve for that. If I do this, then what, right? Second is, as leader, if I am cognizant of the fact that there is an internal talent pipeline, which, as whatever function I may represent, but overall I am part of leadership team for the company, right? So as a company, as a company leader, I am also responsible for upgrading my talent. So which means that if I have to build internal talent pipeline, then any function I'm sitting in as a leader, it is my joint responsibility to make sure that my team members upgrade themselves, because unless until they upgrade, they will not be able to either take higher responsibility, or also will not be able to transition into different roles and internal jobs which get posted from time to time. So
Hmm.
therefore, these two things, if addressed properly, I think that sets the right path for people to see, because people need to see a path, that if I do this, it's good for me, but then how do I link, how does it link up to my growth? Yeah.
Hmm. Rightly said. So, the pace of the upskilling initiatives that we are seeing today, they vary from different levels and different departments, the roles of the employees as well. So, my next question is from two aspects. First is the multi-generational aspect. When we talk about upskilling, probably the older generation at the organization, they might feel resistant, they might face challenges in upskilling and using the technology the right way. So the multi-generational workforce is the first aspect, and second is diversity in the workforce. Sometimes there might be cultural barriers in the programs, there might be language barriers. So how can leaders ensure that these challenges are cleared and there are no situations that occurs post the upskilling initiatives?
Sure. So as I said, all these initiatives are ultimately driven by the culture in which you operate in. Again, it also depends on the kind of industry you are in.
Hmm.
So, case in point, our industry is very, very highly competitive. So there are, you know, more than 40, companies who are trying to sell the same product in the market. So customers have varied choices in front of them. So when you have growth, when you have competition all across, so do you have a choice to make or not? That's something which is the first question which comes to anybody's mind. Now, second is, when you do not have a choice, how do you build this as part of your culture? So, as I said earlier, and I repeat again, that you have to build this as part of your culture. So, uh, any amount of planning or any business uh, plan generation which you do, at least for a period of, either if it is for 1 year or for a medium term, 3 years, 5 years, etc. So, the subjects of people development and growth
Right.
has to be part of your overall business strategy, because that is where then it gets captured as enterprise priority. Once it becomes enterprise priority, it gets tracked along with all other business parameters. So we have such parameters as part of our enterprise priorities. We have such parameters as part of our balance scorecard, which is a measure for our company performance for the year. We have such parameters as part of our goal sheets for all our leaders, and we have such priorities as part of our rhythm which we operate in. So therefore it makes, it sounds simple, but you have to do all these things to make it work. Otherwise, if you try doing it in isolation, then probably people do not see this as part of your business goal.
Hmm.
So it has to come across as part of your essential part of your business, because the moment you know that, okay, there is a goal to develop our people, and there is a goal to internally fulfill positions
Hmm.
through this talent pool, then automatically it becomes part of culture. Now, coming to your point of cross generational shift, so there might be difference in knowledge, agility, etc. That I completely agree. but the context in which you operate. So whatever generation you come from, you try and adapt yourself, because otherwise you will be left behind. Because if today, if
But
there is
are they still
requirement
in the
to be,
race? That is the point. The older generation, they're not
sorry.
in the race for competition. So don't you think they would be resistant to change? They would be comfortable in what they've been doing.
So at least in my industry, I don't see this challenge, because all employees, whatever age brackets they are from,
Hmm.
they whosoever is coming in has got enough exposure and visibility of what is happening around,
Right.
and the way of working is such that there is no choice actually. So
Hmm.
it's not about competing with others, but it's about your way of working.
Okay.
So way of working is such that automatically it brings a element of upskilling, whatever level it is, but it comes across. And second, you know second question, if you can repeat, when you said cross cultural, what exactly you want to ask?
Yeah, so I meant that there is a diverse workforce, so there might be cultural differences, there might be language barriers in terms of when you're making or planning or implementing the upskilling initiative. So how do you address those challenges?
So wherever such, going by, so one is that English is a common language which normally uh, is acceptable at all levels. But to your point, there are some skills which require vernacular, dialect as well. So which is more to do with, sometimes you do product upgradations, or you do some, such upgradations which are required to be communicated to local customer. So all those kind of upgradations, we make sure that vernacular options are available, so that
Hmm.
our employees are comfortable, speaking with customers in their language as well, because we can't control the customers. So whatever language they will ask, have to be replied accordingly.
Hmm.
So those flexibilities we have built. So whatever is facing customer has to be in a way that it promotes vernacular conversations, communication, etc.
Hmm. So when we've already discussed about the technical skills that have been changing, let's come to soft skills, which are very, very important today because in AI, we still see that the soft skills are lacking. The emotional intelligence, empathy, the communication, leadership, all these skills are lacking in AI as of now. So how are you building onto these and what are some other essential soft skills that you at your organization are instilling in the employees?
So what we have done essentially on this space is very simple. We have refreshed our values first.
Hmm.
So we have had a set of values which were continuing with us, but in 2020 we picked up this subject, saying that okay, let's refresh and review if we need to continue with the same set of values which we have. And we all saw that, and this was a co-creation exercise. This was not done through a 60 degree feet above sea level. This was co-created amongst leadership team, employees, stakeholders, shareholders, etc., all involved. And we arrived at a set of five values which we all believe will help us drive our context for next 3 to 5 years. That is one. And we then try and build all our culture and policies around those values. So meaning that all employees are clear that any action which we take in the organization, or any decision which we are taking. So, for example, if we have a value of collaboration,
Hmm.
or if we have a value of empathy, if we have a value, so we have our values which are more, uh, more linked towards behaviors rather than universal values. So we have values like innovation. We have five values. So those values help us drive culture and build our workspaces in a way which is consistent. Second is, we also did an exercise to arrive at four behaviors which will be key to us as we drive further in our journey of future growth and development, which is again simplified. So we have identified four areas, starting from strategic mindset to entrepreneurial uh, skills to execution excellence. Stating that if we have these, and then the fourth one which we have identified, as you rightly said, that people might have many other skills, but we have identified one skill which is without which you can't do anything, whatever skills you might have. So for example, skills like execution or skills like building high performance teams.
Mm.
So these are four behaviors which we have identified. That these four behaviors at least we will need to have in our across our organization at certain levels and above. And so one is communication of these behaviors, and then uh, building people on these four behaviors. So, and we have also drilled down these behaviors to a level we are saying that okay, if you are in an individual contributor role, then what level of proficiency you should build on these four skills. If you are at manager level or if you are at functional level, what kind of proficiency levels you need to build on. So these two combinations we try and drive through to continuously work on building softer skills amongst our employees. Yeah.
Mentioned some great initiatives. So, Mr. Katyal, most of our viewers, they're HR professionals, employees. Any last piece of advice from your side?
So once again, I think you made very important point that people might have hundreds of skills when it comes to new age, uh, you know, skills to possess. But what is key to you as an organization to succeed? So try and build, your, HR strategy in a way that it becomes part of business actually.
Right.
So once it is part of our business strategy, everybody looks at it in a uniform way rather than looking at it differently. Okay, this is something which HR wants to drive. So the subject of capability, the subject of development, the subject of building skills, enhancing skills, has to be taken as enterprise priority to succeed. So there is no other way. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you so much, Mr. Katyal. We've had a great session. I hope the viewers are going to enjoy watching this video. Thank you once again for being here and giving us your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you, Savi. Thank you very much.